said to Mary, as soon as I walk up, everyone will be quiet. Kia ora. Tēnā tātou katoa nei ka mihi ninui ki a koutou katoa. Engari, tuatahi mihi hoki ki te kaihanga o ngā mea katoa, pai mārire. O tira ki a rangi, me papa, me ona tamariki, ngā kaitiaki o ngā wai, te whenua ki te arorangi, me ngā taonga kei wainga nui o ngā mea katoa, pai mārire ki a rātau. Ngā mate kua uhe ki te pō i runga te waka o Tainui. Haere, haere, haere ki te pōwhiri o tūpuna. Moi mai, pai mārire ki a rātau. Te kiingi Māori, tu hei te ao. Po te tau te whero te tuawhetu. E mihi aroha ki a ia, me ona whānau noho ani i a ia, me te kāhui ariki, rire hau, pai mārire ki a rātau. Ki ngā iwi, e pupuri ai te mana o te whenua nei, me kirikiri roa whānui, Ngāti Wairere, Ngāti Māhanga, Ngāti Haua, Ngāti Koroki Kahukura, hoki ki Ngāti Tamaiunupo, me Waikato hoki, pai mārire ki a tātou katoa. E ngā mana, e ngā rangatira kua tae mai, raro te tuanui o te whare nei, mai tētahi piko o te wai, ki tētahi piko o te wai, whakatau mai, nau mai, haere mai, ki tēnei wānanga. Tēnā koutou katoa. Mōrena everyone, on behalf of our team here, a big welcome. We just acknowledged our Creator for all the wonderful blessings that we have. We acknowledged our Sky Father and our Earth Mother and their children who are the guardians of all the precious taonga that we have and everything that they embrace. And also acknowledging the time now of Matariki, where our deceased over the past year have gone to rest and be amongst Ngā Whetū, the stars, with their ancestors, to the biggest pōwhiri they could ever receive. And to our Māori King, our seventh monarch, we acknowledge him also, and the Waira Ariki that support te kingitanga. We also acknowledge the iwi who hold mana, power and prestige of these lands and the Waira Hamilton area of Ngāti Wairere, Māhanga, Haua, and I have to get all of these right because I'll get in trouble later. Ngāti Koroki Kahukura and Tamaiunupo. And to you who have come from each parts of the region, with my Taiao environmental background, I acknowledge the waters from where you have come to be here today. In Tainui, as we've just acknowledged, a huge weekend, looked like Rotorua had the best Matariki weekend with the drones they had there. But for Tainui here, what we see is that when the Tainui waka, that's all we call it, the waka o Tainui, with Matariki at the front, Tautoru, or the Orion's belt at the taurapa, the back end, as we saw the waka descend, that's the time where we would sit down and figure out what did our previous year look like. We've hunted for all our kai, it's too cold to go hunting, so we've gathered our kai and we hold wānanga. We hold wānanga for a few months. And the hope is that as Matariki ascended over the weekend, the knowledge of our people ascends because we have learned from each other. And so with the wānanga you're about to have today, I hope you're bringing a whole year of knowledge that you've learned and gained so you can share it with each other and ascend like Matariki and do the best that we can to look after our rangatahi and our people. So, engari, I mua i te timatanga o te wānanga nei, ne karakia. Rire hau, pai mārire. O tia kina māramatanga e te atua, ki tō mātau ki ingi me te kāhui ariki. Ki ngā tinane māwiwi ana tai no, kia mātou katoa i te rānei nā te kro o rea nā te kro Pai mārire. Tēnā koutou. I'm going to hand you over to Maddie now. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe. Thank you, Julian. Morena, tēnā koutou katoa. Nau mai haere mai ki te Smarter Futures Leadership Summit for 2024, ko Maddie tōku ingoa. Good morning, everyone. My name is Maddie. I am your MC for this morning, if that wasn't already obvious. Now we're skipping ahead in the program because we swapped things around at the last minute, but that's fine. So some housekeeping to cover off first in the event of an emergency. It's just everyone for themselves, so if you all just run around in a disorderly fashion, I'm kidding. For liability's sake, I have to point out that that was a joke. Fire exits are just to your left and your right here. There are ushers who will assist you on your way out. The assembly point is just over in the car park. Wharipakus, I'm sure you have found in the foyer. Please no smoking or vaping anywhere on campus. I won't make you turn your phones off, but if yours does ring, we're all going to stare at you and it'll be super awkward. So if you don't want to participate in that, just flick it to silent now. I would like to acknowledge our sponsors for this morning, for Smarter Futures Waikato, and of course acknowledge our host for today, the University of Waikato, which is a nice segue into our first speaker for this morning, which is Associate Dean of Waikato Management School, Michelle Jordan-Tong. Please welcome Michelle to the stage.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you, Maddie, tēnā koe, Julian, e tātama. Manawatia matariki koutou. It's great to be here this morning. I drew the short straw in that I can be here for the beginning, but I can't stay, which I'm really disappointed now that I've seen the run sheet, and I'd love to hear the pearls of wisdom that are going to be up here on stage after me. Wonderful selection of speakers and industries and topics. I'm representing the university, obviously, and my direct line manager, Pro Vice Chancellor of Waikato Management School, would love to be here, but he just flew back into the country this morning from a friend's wedding overseas, so unfortunately he couldn't be here. But if you've got any concerns about Waikato Management School, Leonard Gardner can field any inquiries as a member of our Business Advisory Board, and he'll be here throughout the day to answer any questions or pass concerns on, or opportunities. So I want to acknowledge Mary and the team. Smart Waikato has been worked with the university for decades, and Mary and I have known each other for a very long time. The team at Smart Waikato have been the glue. Doesn't sound like a nice thing, does it? But they have been the constant that have brought us together, that have kept us focused as industries, as for-profit, not-for-profit, on our young people and the need to keep them in employment, education and training. And the important thing about that is, obviously, the university wants to keep students in education, Wintec wants to keep students in education, but it's that holistic view of how we keep our young people purposefully looking forward to their future, and whatever that means. And the main thing we want is for them to be open to learning. That might be on the job, that might be personal development, professional development. It might be our own learning. How do we support our young people? Because goodness knows they become more and more confusing the older I get. So how do we ourselves be employers and trainers of our young people? So congratulations to Smart Waikato for the work that you do, and thank you for the opportunity to host you guys on campus today. The university obviously is as I say, very focused on education. We're also very focused on learning, and I notice some selfies in the audience. And we like to work in partnership with other organisations for that. So being able to work with other organisations who are focused on leadership within the Waikato is very important. So have a wonderful day. I think through collaboration is how we make progress. None of us should be territorial or possessive or anything when it comes to our young people and how we make things better for them and for their futures. And also acknowledging the work that we do not only in our jobs but in our volunteer work, in our homes, to bring it all together. So have a wonderful day, and as I say, anything that the university can do to help in that mix, please reach out to us. I know Mary and the team will, and we've got Leonard here. So have a wonderful day, and congratulations for coming together for this really important topic. Kia ora.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, so the format of today's summit, if I've done my slides right, fantastic, will be one of hearing and learning from our speakers, interspersed with a few videos, and culminating in collecting your feedback before we go to lunch, which means, yes, there is a test at the end, and it is mandatory. Before we get to that, though, we have a full program to get through, and I'll be your MC for today and sharing some insights and a bit of my dry humour along the way as a proud representative of Gen Z. Of course, we'll be looking at the future of work and skills in Waikato, particularly around our regional growth sectors and economic priorities. We want to encourage you to think about your role and the role that you play in regional leadership and in building stronger communities to support schools. So, let's jump into our first video of the morning and find out what exactly this whole Smarter Futures thing is. And this is just going to work seamlessly for me.
Smarter Futures Waikato is here so all students will know about the future of work and pathways to Waikato growth industries. To make this happen, a community of support for our Waikato schools has been amassed to assist with student attendance, raise aspirations and pave the way for smarter futures for both young people and the region.
Here in the mighty Waikato, we pride ourselves on working together and leading the way for New Zealand. But right now, the reality is Waikato is falling behind the rest of the country in engagement and achievement at school. It's up to us as a region to fix that, or else, downstream, we will have major societal and employability issues.
Ministry of Education figures show that last year, less than half of the region's 81,000 students were regularly attending school. Further to this, 14% of Waikato's young people are not in education, employment or training. That's 9,000 youth, significantly more than the national average of 12%.
The Waikato's high rate of young people not in education, employment or training poses a serious risk to the region's future prosperity. Quality education, skills development and training are the building blocks of a strong regional economy. They ensure our people are well equipped to meet future job market demands.
Schools cannot fix this on their own. In response, Smart Waikato is spearheading efforts to support schools.
We have alarming statistics in Waikato, but we do have solutions that are evidenced and ready to go. For instance, secondary school employer partnerships, a wraparound, collaborative community effort. We need the leaders of regional priority sectors to lead the way, to ensure no young person misses out on something that's proven to keep them engaged at school, shows them the future of work, and sets out pathways to get there.
At the heart of the Smarter Futures campaign is the regionally developed School Employer Partnerships, which received an Economic Development New Zealand Award for Best Practice in Collaboration. Secondary School Employer Partnerships, or SSEP, are 3-year formal relationships between secondary schools and local employers, who link into school faculties at Year 9 and 10, supporting contextualised learning in the classroom. SSEP provides a real-world application of the curriculum and exposes students to a wide range of career opportunities. SSEP is a framework adapted for each school's kaupapa, curriculum and local industries.
Prior to COVID, SSEP positively impacted 10,000 young people from 42 secondary schools, as well as 250 teachers and 250 employers.
Reviving and upscaling this initiative has been a priority in the Waikato Workforce Plan and requires funding for trained facilitators to work between schools and industry.
Smarter Futures will focus on high-tech growth industries in Waikato and provide insight into the future world of work.
Regional leaders have identified the Waikato's priority sectors, which include food and farming, advanced manufacturing, transport and logistics, technology, energy and high-value tourism. These priority areas are enabled by construction and infrastructure, health and business services.
We've heard from teachers in both Waikato and Canterbury, where the program also operates, that students always show up to school on SSEP days because they find them more relevant than an ordinary school day.
This program is a well-researched, well-justified program that we think is structured to deliver huge value to students, to business and the Waikato community, both now and into the future.
There are also other regions lining up to launch this Waikato Developed initiative, but we need to make sure we're working together here to look after our own first.
Beyond SSEP, the community of support will provide further opportunities and connections. Waikato's leading careers hub, Future Force NZ, will play a central role in reinforcing Smarter Futures messaging.
Future Force Careers Hub is a student-facing digital platform that profiles career pathways, employers and industries, and features a regional job board and career planning tools. Future Force has built strong networks and connections over the past 12 years, with schools and tertiary providers directly reaching careers and tech teachers, as well as young people and the community.
The Waikato is our community. What we see this program doing is helping to generate pathways and inspire the youth of today, our rangatahi, to pursue careers that might ultimately see them working in our businesses in the future, supporting the future of our organisations.
For this to continue, that funding does need to continue as well. It opens the doors for our students. It gives them the opportunity to see that there is a world out there that they can be a part of. So please, if you are a funder, continue to be a funder, and for those who are not, it is a great, great opportunity, something wonderful that you could be offering many students.
This is the ultimate collaboration, and we're now calling on our community. We're fundraising for a relatively small amount to pay for 3 facilitators and their costs for 3 years to work with the 50 secondary schools and hundreds of employers region-wide. This target, just $360,000 per annum, will be shared 1/3 by the corporate sector, or $120,000 per annum, with 2/3 from government and philanthropists, or $240,000 per annum. If we work together, this is a relatively small investment for large-scale impact.
Few familiar faces in there. Right, now it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who really might not need much of an introduction because she's a friend to a lot of people in this room. Mary Jensen founded Smart Waikato 15 years ago, and I don't really think she's taken a day off since, and certainly hasn't in the lead up to this event. While I am on the payroll, she didn't pay me to say this bit. Mary is a dedicated and passionate leader who always pushes herself and others to do what is right, even though it may not be what is easy, a theme you'll hear a lot more about today. Please welcome Smart Waikato's Chief Executive and my mentor, Mary Jensen.
Nau mai, haere mai ki te Smarter Futures Summit. Ko Mary Jensen tōku ingoa. I am the Chief Executive of Smart Waikato Trust, and I extend a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you all for your attendance, rangatira. Showing up shows you care about our region and the people who live here. I'd like to acknowledge members of the Smart Waikato Board, principals, school boards, business, tertiary education, local and central government and community leaders here today. You may think, what a time to be calling a summit and asking schools and businesses to work together when households and businesses are hurting and young people aren't showing up like never before. Well, in some ways you're right, but in most ways it's the very best time to be doing this. You see, we've been here before. Smart Waikato started 15 years ago in the GFC in 2009. Youth unemployment skyrocketed and hit its peak in 2012 in Waikato, with a large proportion being Māori. Secondary School Employer Partnerships, SSEP, was born out of this situation from the Waikato Labour Market Group as a solution to bridge the gap between schools and businesses. Many of the schools here today would have been involved. With funding from corporate philanthropy and the PGF fund, it was really flying. By 2020, 42 of our 50 schools were involved, and we had licensed it to Canterbury. SSEP engaged all students, showed them the world of work, the relevance of their STEM subjects. Even teachers learnt a lot. Kids showed up, and over time, many hundreds of new jobs were offered to young people in all our Waikato communities. And then came COVID interruptus, followed by a change in government policy, which went back to ambulance at the bottom of the cliff policies. That meant we could only work with small groups of rangatahi who had fallen off that cliff. And just when kids were coming back to school, there was the teacher strike. Those ambulance at the bottom of the cliff strategies will unfortunately always be needed, but are hard-going and terribly expensive. So we need to put more investment into prevention strategies, such as building communities of support around schools to ensure every rangatahi is set up for success through the Smarter Futures initiative. The change in government policy means SSEP has been unsupported for some time. Smart Waikato has chosen to continue it out of our reserves, and we thank Anna Ellison for continuing to provide facilitation across the Waikato on her own. We are now down from 3 facilitators to half a facilitator for the whole region. I take my hat off to the schools who are still going with SSEP and the employers still involved. In fact, we have Te Araha College right now, Neil, doing it for the first time with the Year 10s, so that's fantastic. And we have other employer school initiatives, such as Gallagher's and RML teaching Waikato Dio teachers to teach electronics and robotics to their senior students. We need to reinvigorate this and other programs with our 50 schools. This is the very time that we need to learn from the past and all work together for the future. We can start tomorrow, that is, if we have facilitators to do this work. Now I give you Smart Waikato's theory of change. We believe if young people receive relevant education, careers and transition experiences and are connected to employers who support them with learning opportunities, they're more likely to progress to decent jobs and incomes, leading to greater health, wealth and well-being for themselves, their whānau and their communities. Rangatahi staying at school is the first step. Schools need help from us all to engage kids at school, making it more relevant and interesting. Today we'll find out what can be offered to schools that will help engage rangatahi, be it through the prospect of being connected to work through school or creative opportunities, or it could be through programs in outdoor education. All could be accessed through our facilitators. It's very important to respect our businesses who are our main employers, who pay the taxes that ensure we have education, health, police and social services to provide a better standard of living for us all. Today, we will hear from leaders in our largest employing sectors, and they will give us insights into their industry's future of work. We'll see more videos and hear from the Regional Director Marcus from MOE and Dr. David Wilson, an international leading expert in regional development, who will summarise this session. Then our Sally from Smart Waikato will give us the next steps and thank yous on Smart Waikato's behalf. Julian Williams will close, and we'll ask you to spend some time on feedback forms, as Maddie said, including your thoughts and potential contribution before going to lunch. Before I close, a big thank you to my core team of Sally Birch, Anna Ellison and Maddie Walker for their many years of hard work creating amazing impact in our community. These wonderful wahine work for Brella Projects, my business, that runs Smart Waikato, Weka and Future Force. A key part of my workforce strategy is to employ young people, and I challenge every business and organisation, school, local government, everyone here to do more of the same. When thinking of employing young people, don't just think apprentices. Think young office administrators, social media people, sales people. There are many capable young people out there in the region, possibly currently in education or underemployed in retail or unemployed full stop. There is no excuse not to employ these rangatahi. We can help you with that. Over the past 5 years, I've employed and mentored 4 full-time and 3 part-time young employees. It is a win-win. They bring so much energy, vitality and new thinking to a business. Maddie, our MC, has been an absolute godsend to the Smart Waikato team, and she'll represent rangatahi today and tell her story, which is probably relevant to many rangatahi today. As we regrettably head towards higher youth unemployment again, please, please do your bit to nurture our young people, giving them hope, happiness and opportunities. Once again, thank you one and all, and I'll see you at lunch. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa.
Thank you, Mary. Right. Now, I hope everyone managed to squeeze in a cup of coffee before you sat down, because it only gets more complicated from here. And next up is math class. Rosie Sprague, Waikato Economic Development Expert, has put together a video outlining some key statistics for our region that are particularly relevant to today's summit. Rosie, unfortunately, is homesick today, but luckily will be joining us via video. Take it away, Rosie. Or not. Yes.
Let's start with our people. The Waikato region is home to about 500,000 people, a quarter of whom identify as Māori, with fast-growing Asian and Pacifica population. Just over a third of people in the region live in Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. We are the third youngest region in the country. Kirikiriroa, Hamilton is the youngest city in Aotearoa, and our region's Māori population is particularly young, with a median age of just 27 compared to the national average of 38. Unfortunately, a large proportion of the Waikato's young people live in areas of high deprivation and experience exclusion and disadvantage. When we look at our region's population growth over time, we see that it has been growing faster than the New Zealand average for the past 10 years. On average, our region has grown by about 10,000 people per year. The biggest contributor to this growth was New Zealand residents moving from other regions, choosing to come live in the Waikato. From an ethnicity perspective, we see our region becoming increasingly diverse, with particularly strong growth in Asian and Māori populations. And as previously mentioned, our Māori population is young and therefore will represent a significant portion of our region's future workforce. So let's look at some data about our young people. Nearly a third of young people in the Waikato live in high deprivation areas. That's 30,000 children aged up to 14 and 19,000 rangatahi aged 15 to 24. Nearly half of these young people live in Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. Research commissioned by the Waikato Wellbeing Project also identified key insights from Waikato rangatahi on their wellbeing. This research identified the prevalence of barriers in education and employment that our rangatahi face due to inequities. It also highlighted their concerns about insufficient careers guidance and connections to the real world of work, and the need for more contextualised learning. This is leaving our young people feeling unprepared when they leave school. Let's turn now to our regional economy. The Waikato region generates over $30 billion of GDP per annum, about 9% of the New Zealand total. About a third of this is from exports, valued at over $11 billion each year. There are 64,000 businesses in the Waikato, providing 244,000 jobs. However, we have a relatively high unemployment rate. At March 2024, unemployment in the Waikato was at 5.6%, well above the national average. When we look at which industries drive our economy, we see that primary industries and manufacturing are our largest industries in terms of GDP contribution. From a workforce perspective, construction, manufacturing and health are usually our largest employers in the region. Our school attendance record in the Waikato compares poorly to the national average and has done so for the past 10 years. COVID exacerbated the trend, but attendance rates in the Waikato have been falling and lagging behind the national average for many years. So what does this all mean for the Waikato? We could look at a lot of these statistics and see doom and gloom, or we can see the incredible opportunity ahead of us. We have the opportunity to leverage our fast-growing, young and increasingly diverse population. Many places with shrinking and rapidly ageing populations would envy the growth and demographic profile of the Waikato. We must ensure we achieve great outcomes for our young people, especially young Māori in the Waikato. They have so much potential that is yet to be realised. Our schools need support from the community, from local and central government, and from local businesses. We can work with our education leaders to help them deliver engaging learning experiences that make sure our rangatahi want to be in school and working towards qualifications that set them and their whānau up for success. Perhaps most importantly, and certainly of most relevance to the summit today, is the opportunity to create clearer pathways for our young people into sustainable future employment. This means looking to the industries of the future that will grow and offer employment opportunities long term. It also means looking to employers that are reducing their emissions profile and positively impacting our environment. So I'll leave you with this incredible opportunity to support smarter futures for young people in the Waikato. It absolutely takes a village, and this summit is a unique opportunity for that village to come together to create the future Waikato we all want to see. Mauri ora.
Thank you, Rosie, virtually. Right, so a lot of numbers in that one, and there are going to be a lot of numbers throughout today, but there are two that I just want to highlight before we move on. According to the 2023 census, there are a little over 64,000 young people aged 15 to 24 in the Waikato. And as Rosie mentioned, there are also 64,000 businesses in the Waikato. Now, I dropped out of school at 17, but even I can manage that math. So that means that if every business here created one opportunity for one young person, then we could skip straight to lunch. Now, I love numbers personally, and anyone who's worked with me will attest to the fact that I love a well-organised Excel spreadsheet and matching colour-coordinated graphs. But it can be easy to focus on the numbers and forget the human element that hides behind them, like me. Personally, I didn't thrive in high school. Actually, I dreaded going to school. I felt out of place and disconnected. I was frustrated and I didn't see the point in really anything we were being taught. This all took a toll on my mental health, and I, like too many other young people, struggled with depression and anxiety. So the week after I turned 16, I unenrolled from school. I knew education was an important part of my future, so I took some time out, thankfully supported by the Bank of Mum, and then started schooling online. Once I was out of the classroom, I had a taste for this elusive real world that everyone talks about. I was overambitious and I wanted to do everything at once. I started working part-time in retail and volunteering with youth organisations. I tried to juggle studying, working, volunteering, and just being a teenager all at once. I neglected my mental health and quickly burnt out. So I dropped out of school for a second time. Working in retail was not my life's calling, and it wasn't long before the mental health issues I had been ignoring came back in full force. And I could barely make it through a 4-hour shift without having a panic attack in the storeroom. Every day was difficult, and eventually I had no choice but to leave my job. So at 18, I was unemployed, I didn't know how to drive, I had never finished high school, and I had literally $22 to my name. I had no plan, and at the time, I thought I didn't have much of a future either. I was one of those 9,000 NEETs that we see up on the screen. A reminder that those numbers are real people with real stories. I was fortunate to have the support of my family, and through a personal connection, I met Mary. Mary saw something in me that I couldn't see it myself at the time. She took a risk and she put into practice what she's been preaching since 2009. And thank God she did, because this was January of 2020, and we all know what happened next. I found purpose through my work, purpose that kept me going on the bad days and gave me a reason to get out of bed and keep moving forward. This is something I know will be true for other young people in a similar situation. I have been challenged, supported, and appreciated. It wasn't always easy. In fact, at times it was bloody hard work, but it was always worth it. So here we are, 4.5 years later, and I get to be a part of making these smarter, brighter, better futures for other young people. I've studied here at the University of Waikato as part of a cadetship. I'm the regional coordinator for Young Enterprise Scheme, and I get to see the amazing things that young people do every day. I am part of a team of strong, driven women. I've learned everything on the job and continue to do so every day. And I can even drive now. Writing this gave me the opportunity to reflect on how my life would look today if someone hadn't given me that opportunity. And there are 9,000 NEETs out there right now who haven't had that chance. In fact, there's probably more than 9,000. Graphs are easy, numbers are sensible. It's the risk that you take on a young person that's the hard part. It's the support you offer that changes lives. So as we go through today's summit and hear from all of our fantastic speakers, keep in mind that if there's something you see that doesn't sit right with you, you can change it. And lucky for you, we've already thought of some ways you can do that. But more on that from Sally later. Frankly, that's enough from me for 5 minutes. So let's get back into the program. To recap, Don't do that, I'll cry, and we're live streaming it. So, no, that's not what it's supposed to be, but it's what it is. Right, so to recap, Waikato's regional priority sectors are advanced manufacturing, food and farming, transport and logistics, technology, energy, and high-value tourism. These key areas are enabled by construction and infrastructure, education, health, and business services. And we're going to be hearing from leaders of some of these key sectors today. Now, if you're wondering what the heck is behind me, frankly, so am I. These presenters were all asked to think about what the future of work looks like in their sectors, and they'll be telling us all about the emerging technologies and future skills demands. So to keep on theme with Smarter Futures, I asked generative AI to think about what the future looks like in these sectors, and this is what it produced. I will let you be the judge of the results, but if there are any engineers in the room, just don't look too closely. So first up, we have Advanced Manufacturing's AI rendering of a futuristic workshop. To tell us more about what the future might actually look like, please welcome CEO of Advanced Manufacturing Aotearoa, Catherine Lai.
Morena everyone, ko Catherine Lai toko ingoa. I am the CEO of Advanced Manufacturing Aotearoa, which was established in August 2023, so almost a year old. AMA, it's a nationwide cross-sector industry body representing the manufacturing sector. Look, the term advanced actually refers to the use of modern technologies, processes and business practices in the manufacturing operations rather than whether the actual final product is high-tech. So the appointment of New Zealand's first Minister for Manufacturing, which is Andrew Bailey, is a very strong signal from the government of the importance of manufacturing to the New Zealand economy. I have to say, Andrew Bailey, he's highly energised, engaged and enthusiastic about the potential and possibilities for the contribution to the New Zealand economy from manufacturing. So AMA will play a key role and responsibility in delivering some business-led initiatives from the government work program, which will entail delivering a nationwide campaign led by industry to to position New Zealand manufacturing as attractive for talent, investment and export markets. We will also be responsible for implementing regional programs to connect students to manufacturers to enhance awareness and understanding of careers in manufacturing. And also will be responsible for the development and industry agreement of a strategic manufacturing workforce plan for all subsectors of manufacturing that will address the skills gap and ageing workforce. Oops. There we go. So as I mentioned, manufacturing is a significant contributor to the New Zealand economy, with the sector's significance borne out by the numbers that you see up on the screen. Manufacturing contributes $23.28 billion to GDP, directly employs 241,100 people nationally, and accounts for more than 60% of the country's total export value. And it is worth noting that it is the foreign exchange earnings from export receipts that help subsidise education, healthcare, infrastructure development in New Zealand, and hence the reason why the government has set a very ambitious goal of doubling export value in 10 years. Manufacturing is also a critical part of the regional economy here in the Waikato, contributing a high proportion of jobs and GDP, third largest manufacturing region in New Zealand, second largest industry in Waikato behind construction, and the industry grew 2% between 2022 and 2023, contributing $53 million to the district's economic growth of $869 million. Now, the sector is undergoing a fundamental shift through the application of advanced technologies and processes to overcome geography, navigate global supply chains, improve competitiveness and reduce emissions. I've selected 4 emerging technologies transforming the manufacturing sector, and I may not go into too much detail into all of those because I just want to make sure I am keeping to time. But AI, businesses are using AI as an assistant to generate a broader range of ideas, remove mundane work so designers and engineers can focus on being more creative, and looking at opportunities to mine data for insights to improve product designs and processes. Digital twins, think of digital twins. I used it today. What is it called? Google Maps. So I might use Google Maps just to see how long it's going to take me to reach my destination rather than how I'm going to get from point A to point B, give you all sorts of different alternatives. So a digital twin has a similar application in a manufacturing context. Extended reality, that's a mix of augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and is being used by manufacturers as a training and development tool, particularly in high-risk environments. It's also being used for maintenance and repairs, so remote assistance, which reduces downtime. So there's all sorts of really exciting applications of these emerging advanced technologies. So we are very excited to expose the students to the marvels of modern manufacturing and get them excited about careers, future career options and opportunities. And I think we need to reimagine careers in manufacturing for a new generation who are the future drivers of our factories. So manufacturing, it's a team sport. So if students are looking at what do I want to do, what's the next step beyond school, look, there are transferable skills from sport. So if the students have an interest in motorsport, rugby, league, netball, rowing, you have very transferable skills. You're disciplined, you're a team player and you're collaborative. You're used to regularly reviewing data to improve performance. to strive, to hit your goals and your KPIs, and you have a relentless focus and drive to be better, faster, smarter. That's manufacturing. So it's very technology intensive, but manufacturing, it is people first, purpose-driven, people powering performance. So for New Zealand to be really competitive, we have to be more than a pair of hands, because hands are cheap and they are everywhere in the world. We have to be brains and we have to solve some problems. So with the pace of change, technology change requires that our workforce are comfortable with change. It's about being adaptable, the ability to learn, unlearn and relearn. All sorts of other skills, curiosity, creativity, collaboration. Everyone in a manufacturing environment has a role to play in continuous improvement, always looking for better, smarter, faster. So to attract the future factory drivers, industry have collaborated with Wintec, the Workforce Development Council for Manufacturing and Competence, and WECA to design, develop and deliver a Earn As You Learn New Zealand Certificate in Manufacturing Level 3. This has been an opportunity to develop a more integrated and connected approach to address future workforce challenges. Learners can combine classroom instruction with hands-on work experience. 2 days in the classroom at Wintec, 3 days working each week for 10 weeks on a rotation with a manufacturing business and being paid. This is a new model to New Zealand and it's being piloted for the first time in Waikato. And it's an opportunity to take the first step towards a rewarding career in manufacturing. So Wintec have received approval to develop and deliver the curriculum, which is excellent, and we are now seeking expressions of interest for the first cohort of learners to join the first intake starting February 2025. So don't miss this unique opportunity to earn, learn and grow with the support of Waikato's business leaders. That's all.
Thank you, Catherine. Wonderful. Now, next up, I think this might be a little bit of that extended reality you might have mentioned there, Catherine. This is a futuristic visualisation of the construction industry, and our next presenter hopefully will tell us that the future workforce is slightly more diverse than this. Director of Foster Construction, please welcome Leonard Gardner.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Yep, we've definitely got people without beds as well at Foster's. A little bit about Foster's, established 1973, building schools, lots of schools around the Waikato. I noticed Marcus is speaking later when we built his school at Endeavour Ave when we got into it. We've got, we're a management-owned company, so everyone who works within Foster's, everyone who owns Foster's is part of the ownership of, works within Foster's. Part of that is growing apprentices, and 4 of our shareholders actually did their apprentices. I want to speak to one of those apprentices, Ben Roify, who's currently building a little project that looks like that in the middle of town, the Waikato Regional Theatre. So this is someone who didn't know what they wanted to do coming out of school in Taupo, came up to the big smoke of Hamilton, started sweeping floors through a labour hire company, and now is our lead project manager in a 15% share of our construction company 24 years later. This is the opportunities that construction can provide. In terms of Foster's, we've got about 220 team members. We've got a development company, construction company here in the Waikato and Bay of Plenty, maintenance company, engineering company, and a precast company. So plenty of diversity there. And the reason why we exist, and we find that this means a whole lot more to the younger people coming through these days, purpose, is to create built environments where communities thrive. That's why we exist and what keeps us going. In the construction sector, we've got For the 12 months to the end of April 23, there was $2.766 million of consents issued for over 6,000 projects. For the following 12 months, ended April 2024, 1.8 billion of consents issued for 4,611. They're big numbers, and as you saw, they're a big contributor to GDP and employment in the Waikato. But I guess it does highlight how susceptible our industry is to peaks and troughs currently at the moment. And the Waikato is pretty resilient, but everyone is currently doing it a bit tough out there. In saying that, it's a massive contributor to employment in the area, with 11.2% of all people employed somehow affected by construction around the Waikato. I'm going very quickly through this. When we talk about the skills, there is the basic skills of carpentry, quantity surveying, project management and engineering that the industry requires. But more and more there's the specialist skills, health and safety, and in particular that's sustainability. Sustainability plays a huge role in the future of construction and how we do things. As part of that, we've got some technologies, and there's the 3D printing, which I'll show a picture of shortly, but that building information modelling. For us in construction, it is a very manual trade. There is physically holes that need to be dug, concrete that needs to be poured, nails that need to be hammered in, isn't there, Ben? But when we think about technologies in construction, it is about how do we reduce the number of mistakes from that designing and that planning part of the front end, getting rid of the clashes, ensuring that what we measure twice and we cut once on site to reduce waste. So it's all about thinking through processes, problem solving before we actually physically get to site and physically start building things. We do find the very best site managers, project managers, the people in our BIM team, our Building Information Modelling team, are the ones who have done carpentry apprenticeships, who know how to build, who know how to engage with the team on site. Our industry is becoming increasingly complex, and it does require problem-solving skills to a large degree. Foster's currently has 26 apprentices, and I'm always employing young people and engaging in that. And that's been pretty consistent throughout. I've been at Foster's 21 years, and we've always had a strong number of apprentices in there. A couple of pictures on the way through. 3D concrete printing. We've got a company, Corox, in Hamilton here, who does 3D concrete printing. Just a different way of delivering things. The person who runs it used to be a project manager for Foster's, so very innovative, a lot of investment in the technology. The building information modelling, CAD-based, again, getting all the disciplines together to compare models, to identify clashes, just trying to do things smarter. Also thinking about the whole of life of construction, not just about the construction process, but how this building's going to be used in the future. And the last one here is the whole off-site manufacturing. Rather than trying to work in the wind and the rain on site, trying to do all sorts of things, how can we manufacture componentry off-site in a controlled environment and take it on-site? The students that we need coming through need to have some of these skills. Mathematics and physics, obviously. Communication is mission critical. Communicating between different types of people, between professionals, between subcontractors and suppliers. They need to be able to negotiate their own staff as well as consultants and suppliers and clients. Project and time management, teamwork and leadership and problem solving. These are all very, very important things within the construction game. And as it gets more complex with rules and the environment changes, we need people who are able to change with it. So thanks very much. Construction's great.
Fantastic. Thank you, Leonard. Now, we've stolen a leaf out of Donut Economics' book and decided to stick a wellbeing theme right in the middle. So, we'll jump over to health next. If this AI stuff is freaking you out and you're worried that we might not need people, we still do, because this rendition forgot the patient. Now on to someone who'd never forget you. Group CEO of Anglesey Clinic, and Donovan Clark.
First off, if I could ask everyone just to stand up for a second, Etu, and just stretch and have a bit of a... choice. It's like, kia ora tātou, e noho. So just to set the scene, ko taku whakapapa ko taupiri te maunga Waikato te awa tainu i te wakahepiko e taniwha. A ka tiake rā a ka mihi ki tō tātou nei rangatira Julie nei tīmata mai tā mātu nei kaupapa i tū hono tērā kōrero ki te kāanga Orongo Rawa i tū whera te papa kia tū tātou mātou te kōrero e pāniki ngā kaupapa i mua mātou nō reira. Nau mai, whakatau mai, mihi mai, karanga mai, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora. Good morning. Great to be here this morning. Thank you, Mary, Maddie, and the amazing Smart Waikato team for the invitation. Full of room here this morning of people, of industry leaders, here to come and share a little bit about what they do here in the health sector, particularly. So I feel privileged to be to be speaking today about Hauora and about the health sector. I think it touches every area. Whether we work in construction, whether we work in manufacturing, or whether we work in education, mental health has a space to play in all those areas. We feel privileged to be able to work in the health sector. But to set the scene, it is a complex sector. First off, it's expensive. Waikato Hospital is a fantastic hospital. We love it, but it's expensive to run that hospital. All of our GPs across Waikato Tainui, they are struggling. Just go online and find that 2, 3, 4 weeks is quite common to see your GP, even if you're registered. So we do need new people coming through the sector. So I called a friend on the weekend, as you do, and I asked this GP in Auckland, I said to her, I'm speaking in this Smart Futures Leadership Summit about the health industry. And she said to me, why would anyone want to come to the health sector? And I went, oh, that's a good question to ask. So we sort of pondered over that and I had a bit of a discussion. And we come to the health sector, we came to a conclusion, is that we come to the health sector because we care. That's probably the first thing. And I think everyone in this room does care. What gets you out of bed is to make a difference, a positive difference in someone's life. So, just a little bit about the Anglesey Urgent Care Clinic. Now, I think, could you raise your hand if you've been to the Anglesey Clinic over the last 37 years? Yes. So the carpet is still the same. The decor is still the same, but I've got an amazing leadership team sitting up there at the back and we're working towards changing that. So we celebrate 40 years in a couple of 3 years. But on average, we see 128 patients per day, and these patients are people, whānau, that don't want to wait 3 or 4 weeks at their GP. It's urgent, so they come to see us at 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Some of them can't pay, unfortunately, so that's our problem. So we still deliver that duty of care. So as I said earlier, the health sector is expensive, $26 billion. We've talked a lot of numbers today, but some huge numbers. $16 billion over the last 3 budgets. We talk about health equity as an issue, particularly here in the Waikato. We only have to go to certain parts of Waikato and we see the inequity issues across our sector. In public health, a can of Coke is cheaper to buy than a bottle of water. We all know that when we go to Woolworths, we go to Pack and Save. But recruitment and retention is something that's really a priority for all of us across the health sector and starting early, and particularly in our schools. And I take my hat off to all the people in the room that work in education, because it's a tough gig. I come from a family of school teachers, and my brother's a principal. He now works for the Ministry of Education. It's a tough gig to be able to do what you do and some of the challenges that we have. So, kia kaha, kia maia, kia manawa nui. But if we continue to, share this challenge of resilience, because working in construction and working in the health sector is not easy, it's tough. They come from school, or some maybe did not get to school, or did not finish school. So resilience is probably the biggest thing I could say. Resilience and positive work ethic. Putting in those values that really teach and sort of ground these students as they come forward. And I want to start with these values here. First off, manaakitanga. So manaakitanga is about caring. Okay, so we manaaki when people come to our house, out come the best chocolate biscuits and the coffee and so forth, depending on who the visitor is, of course. The other thing is, we talk about this all the time, ko tahitanga, that's being connected and working together. So manaakitanga is caring, ko tahitanga is working together. But this third one, whakaiti, being humble, is very rare. Sometimes we, it's really important to say not to say how sweet the kumara is. Allow others to say how sweet the kumara is. So whakaiti is another very important value. And the last one is whakawhanaungatanga. So we do that, it's quite a common thing now in the public sector for everyone to introduce their maunga, their awa, their waka, and so forth. So whakawhanaungatanga, remember, they don't really want to know your name, Donovan Clark, they want to know where you come from. Because Donovan Clark, who grew up in Invercargill and went to Southland Boys High School and went to Otago University, they don't want to know that. They want to know where your maunga is, ko taupiri te maunga, waikato te awa, taunui te waka, he piko he taniwhau. So being connected is everything in what we do, in every industry that we have in the room here. And it's a great opportunity, Mary, to provide this platform for everyone to be connected today. Technology is expensive. It's expensive. AI is coming in. I'm going, more cost, more, taken away from people, more cost. But we've got to roll with the punches. So telehealth has played a huge part in primary care in particular, taking away a lot of the workload that a lot of our GPs are burning out. They're getting closer to that retirement age. So telehealth has played a part in this ageing workforce. Innovation and doing things differently, earn while you learn, all of these innovative ideas that have been thrown around over the last 3, 4, 5 years, investing in people and growing opportunities. IT and patient data has also been big in the health sector to understand when people arrive at the emergency departments, and so decisions can be made, across that, across those numbers and so forth. So IT does have a part to play. But my message today to everyone in the room is to ask yourself and continue to ask yourself, what gets you out of bed in the morning? And we all know that same question. It's because you want to make a positive difference in the work that you do. No matter what industry you work in, you want to be able to support one of those youth that are growing up here across the Waikato region that may not have the same opportunities that others do. Being able to grab and mentor one of those people and to take them through that journey. And it's a two-way message, not only to us as employers, but also to the training institutions, to our schools. Kia kaha to our schools. Enjoy the school holidays coming up. It's a good opportunity to put the feet up and take a little bit of rest. So nō reira, ka reo e kumero tēnei kōrero. When people at your school want to, or interested in hauora, want to be a nurse, an OT, a doctor, or what have you, and they're looking for a lead into there, happy to go through Mary and the Smart Waikato team and to connect with me and with the Anglesey or the wider primary care, secondary care industry across, not only in the Waikato, but across the country. We don't want them going to Australia, which a lot are doing. We want them staying here. We want them being here. We want them to be chiefs. We want them to be Aptawaz. I have to say Aptawaz before we finish. Oh, I'm getting the nod here, but Aptawaz anyway. So nō reira, everyone, hoki pai koutou ki o koutou nei whānau, do the amazing work that you're doing. I'm looking at the construction dudes, I'm looking at the manufacturing, I'm looking at everyone. You're all doing a great job. Pat yourself on your back, look after yourself, and travel safe home this evening. Nō reira, I rongi tēnā koutou, mauri ora kia tātou katoa.
Thank you, Donovan. Now, I've lost my notes, that's fine. Right, keeping on hauora and well-being, we're going to introduce you to Smart Waikato's Career Hauora Initiative and give you a little bit of respite with a video, and it'll do all the talking for me, so I can go and sit back down.
Smart Waikato, the home of Smart NZ, has spent the past 14 years empowering young people and employers for real education and employment pathways. Career Hawara, or Career Wellbeing, enables subject teachers and youth coaches to empower young people to live their best lives. It consists of over 200 career resources spanning 5 years of a rangatahi's life. The resources can be delivered by people who aren't necessarily trained careers professionals, like subject teachers, youth workers, and whānau. Career Hawara has been co-created with the input of employers, youth, teachers, tertiary providers, local and central government and community, and written by leading New Zealand careers development professionals. The comprehensive suite of activities and resources is based on the Te Whare Tapawha framework of Hawara and incorporates careers education, life skills, well-being and real-world experiences across all year levels to address the serious problem of careers anxiety experienced by young people. Career Hawara was conceptualised with Hamilton's Hillcrest High School and piloted there in COVID-interrupted 2022 by 80 subject teachers and over 1,700 students. Feedback was received from the teachers and students and put into the mix. Despite it being an extremely disrupted year, students reported a 22% improvement in their career wellbeing as a result of the program. Supported by local industry and employer experiences, Career Hawara has continued its second year at Hillcrest and is in its first year at Paeroa College, a rural secondary school, Fraser High, a high population Māori school, and Blue Light, a youth development organisation.
Alongside the wellbeing benefits, Career Hawara also positively impacts economic development. Young people are better informed about local industries, are more work ready, their career and study aspirations are raised, and ultimately their career decisions are better aligned to regional growth industries.
To find out more information about how Career Hawara is empowering young people to live their best lives, visit us online at smartwaikato.co.nz or smartnz.nz.
Now, we're going to deviate a little bit from what you've seen so far and give you a bit of creative respite with our next presenter. Our AI friend did really struggle with this one and needed some nursing to actually produce people that look like people, but this is a futuristic concert, and apparently VR is the only way I'm ever going to see Taylor Swift's Eras tour. But I'll get used to it. Now, for this next bit, you will need a pen and paper. There are pens in your pack, and if you want to scribble on a piece of paper there, while you shuffle around and do that, please welcome our next presenter, Chief Executive of Creative Waikato, Dr. Jeremy Mau.
Kia ora koutou, ko Jeremy Mau tōku ingoa, I whānau mai hau kiri kiri roa, tēnā koutou. So what can you do in 5 minutes? How can you distill all of the thinking and research and resources and concepts around the multifaceted nature of arts, culture and creativity in the future of education into a 5-minute presentation at an event? Probably starting with details rather than rhetorical questions would help. So I'm hoping that in this time you've all got your pen and paper ready, because I'm going to get you to do an activity while I speak. So to start with, can you please draw 5 circles? Just any size circles. Once you have your circles, you're going to spend the time while I'm talking transforming your circles to illustrate things that that circle could be. It could be a face, it could be a wheel, it could be a watermelon, whatever you can imagine. It could be quite silly. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just about doing a creative act. Try to think more broadly than the face, the wheel and the watermelon, because I've already given you those suggestions. So, talking about the connection between arts, culture, creativity and well-being, or hauora. For those who are more actively engaged in arts, culture and creativity, they tend to have a measurably improved sense of well-being. This is expressed in connection to self, connection to place, connection to community and learning new skills. Through engaging in artistic activity, people learn new ways to understand, interpret and adapt to the world around them. This activity enables people to express themselves creatively, to give form and meaning to emotions that might be otherwise difficult to comprehend. And this makes arts, culture and creativity a powerful tool in the modern learning environment. At Creative Waikato, we've been doing research and developing resources to help people embed more creative activities into their everyday lives. Like push play for 30 minutes a day, creative recreation, like what you're doing now, is really good for us. The studies show that a minimum recommended level of artistic creativity is about 2 hours per week. So how can we build our lives to allow more space for creativity in a way that will be good for our well-being, our neurological development, and our general sense of self? How are your circles going? Perhaps you've drawn a cup of coffee or a ball of yarn. I'm going to keep talking. In an article by Arthur C. Brooks, he talks about reframing our understanding of art, culture, and creativity as being human habit. He said, too often we let the humdrum reality of life get in the way of the arts, which can feel frivolous by comparison. But this is a mistake. The arts are the opposite of a diversion from reality. They might just be the most realistic glimpse we ever get into the nature and meaning of life. And if you make time for consuming and producing art the same way you make time for work and exercise and family commitments, you'll find your life getting fuller and happier. So, if we're going to habitually engage in creative activity, we can see that creative activity as being more like sleep or active recreation, just one of those things that we do to stay fully functioning and healthy human beings. And this is true for both teachers and students. Everyone needs to have access to these things. So people in business, people in leadership in schools, how are you helping the people that you work with to embed creativity in their own lives? We need it to be embedded in people's lives so that it can flow through into the lives of the other people around them, from teacher to student. How can you make the learning environment a creative place? Meanwhile, how expansively are you thinking about your circles? Perhaps they're a bubble coming from the respiration of a scuba diver or a planet at the edges of a solar system. So back to arts and education. There is a value in having arts and creativity embedded in the learning experience for reconnecting disengaged students. There are some great programs using music to re-engage teens into coming back to school. Whatever the art form, utilising modern artistic examples in the learning environment can be a useful way to help young people find meaning and a passion for learning across all core curriculum areas. Research has shown that regular arts engagement can increase teenagers' capacity to communicate and to learn, to relate to each other and to tolerate others. In other studies of arts-embedded education programs, they found student engagement increased, student behaviour improved, students were more active participants in the learning process, and they demonstrated increased pride in their work and willingness to rise to a challenge. So especially as we think about students moving through education into the future of work, knowing that they will be navigating uncertain landscapes, AI and other digital disruptions, it seems clear that the important skill sets for the future will be curiosity, critical reflection, ability to learn, skillful selection and creativity. And art teaches us all of these things. In a business context, with the rapid increase in globalization and automation and AI, we can see that one of the key skills that people are actively looking for is creativity, an ability to imagine and think broadly and openly. As Sir Ken Robinson said, creativity is as important as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status. So, when we pinpoint the idea of thinking broadly and openly, how are your circles going? Has anyone drawn their circle as a slice of pepperoni on a larger piece of pizza? Or perhaps you're turning your circle into the wheel of a unicycle being ridden by a duck. So there's so many possibilities. The options for the circles are endless. And this is also true of the way that you can utilise arts, culture and creativity in the educational environment. It's a vital skill set. It's a tool for well-being. It is a way to make meaning and to imagine futures. It is a way to connect people together. It could be through micro-interventions or significant programs. Even something as simple as a class waiata at the beginning of a reading and literacy class can have significant positive impact on the general literacy outcomes due to the benefits of both singing and music on the way our brains work. Creative Waikato has a range of articles, research and resources that might help with making the most of these opportunities for our students now and into the future. So please take your creative circles and go forth into the world. Thank you so much.
I think that was 5 minutes exactly. Well done. Right, we've got 3 more sectors to visit, which is an unintentional pun as we move into the visitor sector with tourism. Please invite to the stage Chief Executive of Hamilton and Waikato Tourism, Nicola Greenway.
Oh, tēnā koutou katoa. Look, my worst days of school were speech days, and here I am with speech day in the principal's office. Lots of principals. I am Nicola from Hamilton and Waikato Tourism, the regional tourism organisation for the Māori Waikato, which I'll explain as we go through. Little did I know that Jeremy was going to have us drawing circles. I've already prepared my circles. So hopefully that earns some points. So a beautiful circle for our region is a hobbit hole, so hopefully some of you recognise those pictures and those images. They're what we talk about in our tourism sector in the Māori Waikato as our hero experiences. So Hamilton Gardens right here in Kirikiriroa, Hopperton movie set in Matamata-Piako, and the Waitomo glowworm caves in Waitomo, obviously. Lots of experiences down there. We're well known, of course, for Raglan, Geelong tea. There's lots and lots of experiences here in our region. A little bit about us and what hospitality and tourism means. If you do a little Google search, you get some of these terms that I'm going to throw on the screen in front of you. But more importantly now, coming out of the, what did you call it, Mary? COVID interruptus, is more of a focus on the Te Aki promise and building back the visitor sector in a meaningful way that is caring for our people in place and our culture. So everything that we do now in the visitor sector has that lens to it. Are we contributing to our community and to our well-being? The tourism sector is often seen as put a sign at the end of the gate, do this job while you're getting your real career. It's seen as quite lightweight, but there's actually quite a system behind the tourism visitor experience. I don't expect you to read all that. We're not going to do a test on that particular piece later. But you can see here that there's a lot that goes on in the visitor sector. We're just a small piece of that over to the right. With Tourism New Zealand, TIA, Tourism Industry Aotearoa, there's lots more that I haven't even put up there in terms of Hospitality Association, B&B associations, holiday park associations for everything. But there are a lot involved before it gets to the visitor at the bottom who's engaging with the operator. There's lots and lots of people engaged and employed in each of those stages. The Māori Waikato, that's our region, yes, the Waikato region for Smart Waikato for Te Waka and also includes Coromandel and Taupo. For us as a regional tourism organisation, just putting up and reiterating the next piece that I'm going to talk about, numbers, is for this, the Mighty Waikato, the heartland. More circles. Jeremy, look at this. So numbers-wise, look, people think the visitor sector and they think there's nothing really here in the Waikato. Isn't that Queenstown or Rotorua's job? Isn't that where you go to work in tourism? No, we absolutely put our foot down on that. The Waikato is an absolutely hub of visitor experiences. You can see there the visitor spend in the green graph. We're 4th for domestic spend up and down the country. So that's back into the map, the Mighty Waikato and the heartland. That's not Taupo and Coromandel. 4th for domestic spend. 5th for international. So we punch above our weight. We are an important visitor destination. Those two numbers there, the 4th and 5th, that's actually $1.9 billion worth of visitor spend per annum. 1.9 billion. 12,000 people are employed in the visitor sector in that Māori Waikato map that you saw before. So we are an employer. Every time you go out for dinner, you go on holiday, you engage at a bus stop, wherever that might be, that's a person that you're talking to as an employee. 88,000 delegates attended events in our region, business events in the last 12 months as well. It's 653 business events. So people often will come to a business event, something like this maybe, they'll have a great experience, return with their family on holiday, and then look favourably at that place to send their kids to school, to university, to invest, work and move to live in that region. We're the shop front. what have I got there on the right? 1.2 million visitor and guest nights in commercial accommodation. Again, those commercial accommodations employ housekeeping staff, front of house, food and beverage, you name it. Lots of people are employed in that sector. As a regional tourism organisation, the work that we focus on in Circles again is domestic marketing. We market to the domestic New Zealanders coming to visit the Māori Waikato, or international people while they are here. We will encourage them to come and visit and spend time in our region. We encourage business events to come here. We support our industry to grow their capability, all on a digital platform. So all of that has a wide range of skills and experiences within. If you talk to people about what jobs there are, I'm getting stand up already, what jobs there are in the visitor sector, often people just think of these sort of top line visitor jobs or jobs that engage with the visitor sector. We often hear, oh, that's just something to do while I'm getting my real career or my real degree at university. Well, bully to that, there's many of us who have made a career in tourism and in the visitor sector. I've just picked on just a few, and because we're a creative sector, creative team, everything's all scattered on there. There's no nice tidy lists. There's such a wide range of jobs that are available and career choices within the visitor sector. Some of them are, the front of house at a restaurant. If you go to a restaurant, you get great food, but you get crappy service. What are you going to remember? So those people are important right the way through our sector. Some of these are accountants and marketing people, they're degree jobs, degree careers, but we need them all in the visitor sector. So if kids don't see themselves in the visitor sector, they want to get their degree, they can still come and work in the tourism sector. That's fun. We're the fun sector. The future. So Maddie's done some Googling, but the future of tourism, the future of high-value tourism, which is a term bandied around since COVID, everyone adds value, doesn't matter who they are. If they're spending money, they're adding value to our community and employing people. But the digital age is upon us. We've even developed our own, we've developed 3 so far, digital experiences. And so people will come and use 360 photos, Google Maps, all of those things to engage digitally and get a sample of what they can do when they come here. Instagram influencers, holy heck. A lot of people are making their travel decisions now on what Instagrammers are saying. It's quite a phenomenon really for my old head. And then sustainable travel. So people are more sustainably minded. There's a whole sector behind sustainable tourism that's growing traction. We did wonder in a post-COVID world whether people would still travel to little old New Zealand, bottom of the earth, with the flight shaming in the Northern Hemisphere. Our visitors are still arriving in droves, they're staying longer, and so that footprint is actually lighter when they're here, and they're looking at more sustainable options when they are here. So visitors are still coming. We are still a live sector. We are bouncing back from COVID interruptus. That was a hell of a time for our sector, but we're coming back. My message to you in the education principles is that tourism, the visitor sector, is an absolute career choice. It does not have to be the light-hearted job while you're getting your real degree. If it is, get your accounting degree and come on back. We're fun.
Fantastic. Now, this one kept me up at night, but I'm conscious of time, so I'm just going to not comment on it and invite, please, Waikato General Regional Manager of Fulton Hogan, Kerry Watkins.
Ko Kerry Watkins, tuku ingoa, he Waikato Regional Manager, Takatūranga Mahi e Fulton Hogan. Fulton Hogan's in its 91st year this year. We view ourselves as a very young company. We've just ticked over 10,000 employees in March this year, 7,000 of those in New Zealand and about 3,000 odd in Australia. Waikato's roughly got 200 staff here for us, so we're a reasonably big business with a lot of diversity. I thought I'd touch on the industry. So I've broadly used data from the construction and infrastructure industry, courtesy of Infometrics. So in the Waikato, there's about 30,000 jobs. 20-25% of these are in the civil infrastructure space. Top third growth industry, 11.2% growth in the workforce between 21 and 26. There's, as you can see in that middle graph, there's a lot of diversity in our industry. There's a third of the staff highly skilled, 10% medium, another third medium skilled, and just touch under 30% that are low skilled. So great variety. There's a growing emergence of wahine in our industry. That's great to see the diversity that brings for us. 18% isn't high, but conversely, if you look at male nurses, we're double what they're achieving. A little bit about what we do at Fulton Hogan. All those things that you see on the screen there, we're involved in those industries, whether that be as a civil engineer, a plant operator, accountant, lawyer, traffic controller, 4D BIM modeller, landscape gardener, digital analysis, and so many more, then we employ them at Fulton Hogan. This here is a roadmap that Civil Contractors New Zealand have prepared. It's actually a fantastic tool, and I highly recommend people have a look at that tool. You can literally click on all the different areas, and it pops up with a profile on an individual who's a water treatment plant technician or an asset management engineer. It gives a profile on what they do, a bit of a role description about what they can, what areas of study they might need and what they might see themselves doing in their day-to-day work. I guess people talk about skills that's needed. The biggest skill that's needed, and I guess talking to principals in particular, we'll be all over this, is communication. And I guess it is a challenge with some of our young people, their inability to communicate, because it's all about the people and therefore ability to communicate. So some of our biggest challenge, I guess, is knowledge of our industry, awareness of the diversity of both role and level of entry that people can come into our industry, the career paths that can follow those choices, and the ability to switch between one thing and another, and attractiveness of what I think is a really cool industry that is responsible for shaping infrastructure in our future communities. So lastly, I'd just like to thank the Smart Waikato team. Fulton Hogan are proud to partner with the great work that you're doing.
Thank you, Kerry. Right, this is a rendition of Green Energy by AI. It might have taken me a bit too literally, but here to tell us a bit more about the energy sector, please welcome General Manager of Energy Services at Well Networks, Kerry Green.
Kia ora tātou. Before I start, just a shout out to Donovan. Let's get a medical school here, please. We need one. My daughter's graduating medical school in Otago this year. She's staying there. She's working with Ngāi Tahu, which makes me proud, but it'd be good to have her up here anyway. So shout out to Donovan and the medical team, but I'll get on to my gig. Right, Well is, circles again, sorry, yep. Well is one of 29 electricity distribution businesses across New Zealand. Our neighbours, the Lions Company, Waipa, Powerco, all in this Waikato region. Well Group is owned through the Well Energy Trust, so 100% community owned. We connect over 100,000 customers to an electricity supply. We maintain just over 7,000 kilometres of overhead and underground lines. 70,000 businesses and homes have one of our smart meters installed. That's important. Well Networks and its subsidiary owns, builds and operates $784 million worth of electricity infrastructure. 360 people working out of our depot in Hamilton to deliver work across electricity services to our communities. Covers qualified field workers doing the mahi, electrical engineers, IT and OT teams, an EV charger business, a bit quiet at the moment, solar and battery developers, design and planning teams along with office functions. Being community owned, we're all whānau, and there's definitely a sense of pride in our culture. Beyond our own staff, many organisations in the industry are chasing the same set of skills with a limited pool of resource and an ageing workforce. The industry must attract younger people in new roles to ensure we keep the lights on. While we keep our people in the field, that we need them out there to make sure our network stays resilient and safe, things are changing in the office. Increasingly, investment decisions are made on smart meter data. So a few years ago, many industry participants embarked on a journey to get visibility of the low voltage network through smart meters. Without these devices, we'd simply have to continue to build more lines and poles to match demand. With the result of access to data, new roles are emerging as a necessity for the energy industry. Having the ability to capture, cleanse and interrogate near real-time data is not a skill set that was prevalent some years ago, but critical today for the management of investment decisions. If we didn't have these insights, you consider the electrification of transport alone. We've had Partners of Performance and Deloitte's look at our network, and if we did not enable smart EV charging and have insights through smart meters, we'd have to spend another $800 million on our network alone. Nationally, $20 to $30 billion. The future of the energy industry will significantly evolve with the electrification of everything. We're observing renewable generation development in the North Waikato area, with a number of large-scale solar farms being consented. New Zealand's first utility-scale battery was built near Huntly and commissioned late last year. A second battery is being developed near Ruakaka in Northland, and announced yesterday another battery at Glenbrook. This is following a trend seen in Australia where intermittent renewable generation, solar and wind, require storage to support it, such when it's not blowing wind and it's dark at night. Residential solar is now at a price point where it can make economic sense for homeowners to invest. There's evidence coming out of Christchurch of battery technology development that has the potential to be a game changer with a lower price point. These indicators highlight an inflection point where we'll see a significant uptake in distributed renewable generation rather than centralised generation. The decisions of mums and dads around the dining room table as to whether they're going to install solar on the roof, buy an EV, or invest in smart appliances are driving the new energy future. Energy flows and networks are now multi-directional and providing challenges for the management of the energy, which requires data to support wise investment. No longer are these decisions solely made by large generator boards. The power is shifting to the dining room table. Our challenge is to ensure we have the right people and skills in place to unlock our energy future. Our meaning our community. Our meaning every single person in this room. We all have a role to play. The industry is employing data scientists, software engineers, highly skilled technicians, AI specialists. I was talking to one in Texas this morning. These sort of roles are required in order for our community to thrive. Electrification of everything is not going away. It will only gain pace. Whether that being mass adoption of EVs, electrification of process heat, or even heat pumps in schools, none of this is going away. And we all have a role to play across every single industry you hear from today. Thank you.
All right, now I'm going to keep my bit short and sweet because if anyone's watching the clock, please try not to. I would like to now play a video that was produced a few years ago, but is absolutely still relevant today about the success of SSEP at Morrinsville College to segue us into this next part of today's summit, which is totally going to work.
Hi, John Inga, Principal, Morrinsville College. We have about 670 students at our school. We saw the SSEP as an opportunity primarily to open up the eyes of our students so that they can see that there are opportunities, many opportunities for them beyond school in science, and hopefully be engaged and motivated to head towards some careers. Other school principals should most definitely consider joining the SSEP. There is no doubt that the sorts of links that can be established between local businesses and schools are vital.
I guess the main thing is teachers themselves are generally academic and they don't necessarily freely go into industry, and industry doesn't freely come into schools, so there's a bit of a mismatch there, a bit of a misconnect rather than a disconnect. I think they're both trying hard, but it's just to try and bridge that gap in between schools and industry. And SSEP, I believe, is doing that very well by getting industry people in and getting schools out to industry to see how the real world actually operates.
The businesses are very forthcoming in everything that we asked them to help us with, and just reaffirmed good connections with local businesses. And I think they were pretty happy and pleased that we were bringing kids into their workplace.
The Morrinsville Waitoa sites wanted to get involved with SSEP just to create that community connection. I think it's a really important part of our business, so we are local, so to get involved in something where we could demonstrate what we do on a daily basis and how it links to what they do in the science curriculum was really important to us.
I would encourage other industries and businesses to get involved in this program. I think it will be very beneficial to them in the short term and long term. I think it gives them a good insight, and it's very important for the future proofing of, for everybody.
Going to Frontier and Wallace was an amazing experience because we got to see what the people do in the companies and also view how science was applied, like the science behind it. When you drive past Frontier and all these companies, you see them and you know sort of what they do, but you don't know in depth of what goes on a day-to-day basis and what they do every day.
It's cool to see that there's so many more options, because I mean it didn't originally feel with science and stuff that there was quite as much out there as there is now, that I've seen places like that. Interesting to see that something so nearby, just this one place, we're sending stuff all over the world, like Italy and Southeast Asia.
At Fonterra, as I said before, they use evaporation and they use it on a completely different scale to what we do it at school. It's like usually at school we just boil water, but at Fonterra they boil water to get what they need to do done.
SSEP has shown me all the different ways that science can be used in our community. In school I thought it was just something fun that we can do and something that's involved in the world, but it's more important than I actually thought it was.
I didn't really know more about a lot about engineering before BLM, but when we went there it really helped me and I actually knew the stuff and I actually really enjoyed it, so maybe I could go through that path as well. Thank you for the experience. It really helped me personally as well and I really enjoyed it, and if I could do it again I definitely would.
I might have timed this poorly. Alright, I'm just gonna skip. Right, aren't young people so refreshing? Now, next, of course, education is an important theme of today's summit, and so I would like to invite forward, please, from the Ministry of Education, Director of Education for Waikato, Marcus Freak, to tell us some more.
Kia ora koutou, ko Marcus Freak takonga, ko kai whakahaere ki te tahu tu Matauranga ki Waikato. Kia ora. Tēnā koe matua Julian I tuku karakia ki te wāhi in haru e mihi ana. Kia ora. So my name is Marcus Freak, I'm the Director of Education for Waikato Region, and as Leonard said, I'm a recovering primary school principal. Been with the Ministry We're just on 3 years, and I think what has characterised the last 3 years has been a massive amount of change that's happened to and with the sector. We've been the Ministry of COVID Response, the Ministry of Weather Response, and we've been able to fit some education in as well. One of the things that strikes me just from the conversations that we've been having today as we talk about the Waikato, one of the things that we're really conscious of in the ministry is the diversity that sits across the Waikato, the needs of our ākonga up in the Coromandel and what the opportunities that are presented for them are very different to those in Kirikiriroa Hamilton, who are different to South Waikato. So there is massive diversity within our region that needs to be considered with any programs that are run. I think it's also, just picking up on Mary, we got some fantastic data and acknowledging that our attendance data in the Waikato was below national averages, but due to a massive effort from the sector over the last 2 years, we are really moving forward and are continuing to increase term upon term and getting a lot closer to the targets that our Minister has set us. So, like many government agencies, our last 8 months has been characterised by fast-paced change, and there are a number of reviews and refreshes happening in the education sector, which our principals and tūmaki are having to deal with and put into place in real short, tight timeframes. But one of the key guiding things for the work of the Ministry and for schools are the National Education and Learning Priorities, or what we refer to as the NELPs. And NELP 7 sits really clearly with the secondary school employment partnership program, because it speaks to the collaboration with industries and employers to ensure learners in ākonga have the skills, knowledge and pathways to succeed in work. So this really guides the mahi that we do in the Ministry of Education in Te Mahu. The actions that fall out of Priority 7 clearly align with the focus of this program. It's about supporting learners to see the connection between what they're learning and the world of work. So it's that relevant, contextualised curriculum which keep kids engaged and focused in schools. It's about breaking down ethnic, gender and socioeconomic stereotypes around education and career pathways, including for girls and young women. So it's great to know that not everyone has to have a beard and a hard hat at Foster's. And about the collaboration with industry and employers and tertiary providers to plan for successful transitions to enable all ākonga to succeed in education. So it's that other pushing back into the sector, into the schools to understand what's important and how the curriculum can be shaped. We know that the landscape of how employment works is changing dramatically, and many of our schools are prioritising their strategic plans, transition plans and programs for students to connect with workforce. Under the current economic environment, we know unemployment's increasing, and we also know that with changes in policy, things like the first year fees free may require children to reconsider what pathways they're going to take moving forward. And so the understanding of how they connect into the workforce is critical. We also know that the nature of work has changed, and in the last 5 to 10 years, many of the high repetition, low cognitive type roles are disappearing out of our works. Employment opportunities. So just as an example, put your hand up if you've used a self-service checkout at the supermarket in the last month. The majority of us have, right? Well, 10 years ago that might have been a student's job or someone's job. So understanding that those sorts of roles are disappearing, and so connecting with the employment and employers to understand what the skills are required is critically important. I took some time to engage in this document, which is in your pack, and I think it's a really fantastic document because what it shows is the breadth of uptake of the SSEP program, and I know our Minister is very interested in bang for buck, and so if she's investing in programs, having the outcomes for learners and the data presented in this manner is exactly the type of thing that will generate interest from her and generate funding opportunities for Smart Waikato. So just acknowledging that the evidence that's collected of the success of this program is really critical, I think, to it moving forward. The priorities for education at the moment, our Minister has been very vocal. Attendance is a key thing, and I think the connection with employers and the relevance in answering that question, why am I learning this? And I'm sure we've all asked this many times, is really important. And so the keeping kids at school, and as was said, the favourite day is when you get to do some work based around what your employers are supporting with. I think the other key thing that the Minister's been very clear about for us is the teaching the basics brilliantly, which is our hour of reading, writing and mathematics a day. Though this is predominantly a primary initiative, the key goal through the co-requisites in this is to make children, enable ākonga to be able to access the curriculum at a high level so that they can there connect with the needs of employers. And so that's really important too. One of the things that we haven't really grappled with in education yet is AI and what place, how that will sit in the curriculum. Our Minister talks about a very knowledge-rich curriculum, so how AI will feature in that will be interesting. But I also had a question, but it's kind of been answered through listening to our previous speakers, because I wonder about what the role is of employers to make sure they continue to add value to the young people that are joining their workforces, knowing that as unemployment increases and people potentially maybe lose their jobs, how are we creating them to be employable in other sectors? So, but having heard and listened to different speakers today, it's really reassuring to know that people are always in the front and thinking for them, and that these young people are being really well supported in terms of their transitions. So I see Maddie has stood up, so that's my signal. So kia ora, thank you very much for your time. And my apologies for not having a PowerPoint presentation. I got back from a week's leave in Fiordland diving to find out that I was speaking here today, so kia ora.
I do love the power of me just standing up and people move. Right, we are nearly there. And to pull us all back together today and crystallise the masses of information that we've been sharing, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. David Wilson. To summarise some of David's experience, which is quite a long list, he has a PhD in governance and regional economic development, has been the director of the Institute of Public Policy at AUT, was the CEO of Northland's Regional Economic Development Agency, Northland Inc., past chair and director of Economic Development New Zealand, previous advisory panel member for the Provincial Growth Fund, which is a $3 billion provincial development fund under the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, and is the founder of Cities and Regions Limited. Please welcome Dr. David Wilson.
Thank you, Maddie, and thank you for your heartfelt kōrero a little bit earlier. That was fantastic, and you are a leader. Ina mana, ina reo, ina tangata whenua, ina rangatira mā, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa. Dia de bai, ke huich, welcome on, bonjour, alo. I just welcomed you from all of my tribes. Gaelic, Celtic, Norse, French. We're here, we've been here a while. My job is just lift up a little bit. I love the DNA, and Mary today has just been fantastic. It gives you a real sense of the fabric of the Waikato. The industries, the teachers, the understanding through education, and I heard from education they're willing to fund Smart Waikato moving forward. Thank you for that. The DNA is really fabulous for me, and the educationalists among you will know this intimately. I remember meeting Mary 20 years ago when I was running a graduate diploma in economic development, and at the time I was really taken by an Institute of Policy Studies program, research program in the UK, where they were recommending interventions at year 9 up and bringing businesses and schools and learners together so that they could have the opportunity to see what their future looks like, and to get that engagement and get that sense of belonging and connectedness to their local community, their region and their businesses. And the same things were coming out then that are coming out now. I had no idea what that business was doing. Did not know what was in my backyard or what the opportunities were. They're huge. They're massive. But we are confronting some really interesting challenges. I was privileged enough when I was in Northland to work with the Hawaii Cable Project, which is a data cable that ran from North America via the Pacific and landed, of course, in Titai Tokerau, Mangawhai. That one cable doubled New Zealand's capacity. So you can all thank me for you being able to watch Netflix at night when you go home. Actually, you can thank Remy Galasso. And as it happens, you know, these things do have a thread in them. Remy now is working on a very large project, which I'm pleased to be working with them on, in Southland, called DataGrid. And the opportunity for us to engage with data use, AI, and so on is limited. We are limited by the amount of data capacity and connectivity with the rest of the world. The US at the moment, international visitors are looking at 1 gigawatt of power to supply their data campuses in order to manage the 10 times higher level of capacity with AI. And I see Catherine looking at me like, yeah, we need this stuff, please hurry up. We need this connectivity. And Kerry from, really good to hear about distributed generation and so on, but one of the key opportunities for New Zealand in this whole area is the supply of green energy, which is what all the investors are looking for. And isn't it wonderful that New Zealand already has around 87% supply of green energy, and thanks to a company like we're going to be connected through the infrastructure that delivers that energy. But as Kerry will know, 1 gigawatt's a lot. We're not going to get there very easily. I've used a heuristic for myself in regional economic development over the years, and I ask myself this whenever I'm working in a region, whatever it is. It's kind of like a 7 capitals approach, very economic-y. All right, sorry about that. You know, I've got a bit of an economics background, but we often talk about 4 wellbeing capitals. I kind of extended it to 7, and they are the natural capital, our resources, our environment, how we look after it, what are the opportunities there. Physical capital, the built environment, we heard from Philton Hogan. How important is infrastructure for us to provide a basis for what we can do? Financial capital, economic capital, they're not the same, but I'll put them together. You know, do we actually have the capital to make these things happen? Aren't we all confronting these issues right now in the COVID hangover? Boy, are we. We've got a lot to go on. Human capital, which is a lot of what we're talking about today alongside social capital. Human capital, our ability to learn, to understand, to create, to innovate. Absolutely fundamental and vital. Social capital, the networks, the relationships, the trust that we build within our communities. How are they working? Are they working well? Can we make them work for us? Do we have the trust with each other, our institutions, our other relationships, our business sector, our public sector? Is there trust? You know, pretty key questions. How can we come together? The institutional fabric. Smart Waikato is an institution, a very welcome institution, might I add, and which is probably why when I was on the panel of the PGF, they got more money. But we're in another place now where we need to leap ahead with all these challenges. And last but not least, the kind of political capital. We need strong civic leadership. Absolutely vital. Now that creates a fabric. Unfortunately, right now, the government is really focused on the hard infrastructure side of that list. So we're talking about hard infrastructure, we're talking about building stuff. And I fully applaud that. We do need to do that. We've got an infrastructure deficit that is huge. However, building a bridge without the soft infrastructure underneath it is a bridge to nowhere. What you guys do and what you bring here by being here today is providing that soft infrastructure that can support the development. Without it, it's a waste of time. Maddie's story is an absolute example of what that means. What that means is it's the human element, it's the relationships, it's the creativity, it's the learning, it's the innovation, it's how we work together, it's the connections, it's the connectedness. Those things are absolutely fundamental. So while central government is going to get very busy on hard infrastructure, such as the project I'm working on. The hard infrastructure is one thing, building another cable and providing space for data centres and those sorts of things will provide an economic boost to the region, and it will have indirect economic impacts. But it's the induced impacts that matter. What are we doing with this infrastructure? How are we taking it to build on it, to level up with that kind of underpinning opportunity that AI presents? So what I would say today, to try and pull that back together, one of the things I work with in terms of my own philosophy of understanding what I'm dealing with, in understanding the fabric of a region, is a notion, and a well-supported notion, of endogenous economic development. We're all endotherms. We've got the skeleton on the inside. A coda is an exotherm. Crayfish has a skeleton on the outside. So the philosophy there is building our economy, our society, our prosperity from within. And if you take that philosophy with you, what you guys are doing here today is providing the opportunity to take that leadership from within the region to advance the kaupapa of Smart Waikato. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm so happy that Mary invited me back. That DNA is so important, isn't it? That golden thread through your life. And for Maddie, absolutely evident. Thank you very much. Tēnā rā tātou katoa.
Thank you, David. Now, we're very nearly almost there. Excuse me, I'm just dying quietly. Off to the side. I will go and do that, but before I do, I'd like to invite the one and only from Smart Waikato Trust, Sally Birch, to the stage, please.
Ngā mihi o te ata, ko Sally toku ingoa. I'm sure everyone here today agrees that all young people in the Waikato deserve to benefit from smarter futures. So, we are now calling on you, the leaders of our communities, to join us. We need to start by reinvigorating SSEP in our region's secondary schools. And to do this, we need to engage Smarter Futures facilitators. Facilitators provide a trusted one-point connection into our schools. We know from experience that without them guiding the waka, SSEP and other opportunities become unwieldy and tricky to navigate. Ideally, we need 3 facilitators working across our 50+ secondary schools here in Waikato. That will impact more than 10,000 young people, and it will benefit hundreds of employers and educators. To cover costs and pay facilitators, we need a total of just $360,000 per annum for 3 years, which we largely hope will largely be covered by government and philanthropy. That's the preferred option. But it's likely we'll also need to call on businesses and possibly even schools themselves. Businesses. Be an SSEP employer. There's the voluntary aspect, which we are extremely grateful for. Tell your employer or sector story. Be seen in Future Force Careers Hub. Contribute financially if you can. More on that soon. Schools. Reinvigorate SSEP at your school. Create rich opportunities for students and teachers, and pathways into industry for them. Embed Smarter Futures in your school's strategic plan. There's a simple application process, and from there our facilitators will support you to make it happen. Funders and government, please dig deep to support Smarter Futures. Express your interest on your forms, which are in your bags, and we'll be in touch to work out the rest later on. We know times are tight, so we've come up with alternative funding models which can be tailored for each community or school. There's the $360,000 per annum for 3 years model. The idea is that after that, schools and businesses operate SSEP independently. This covers the whole region. We hope our government and philanthropy funders will be generous here, but we'll likely need business and schools to contribute. We have corporate packages, plenty of tangible value for employers and something to suit every budget. We'll be in touch about that later. Philanthropy, again, these are 3-year partnerships. Local and central government, grants, or they can supply an approved facilitator and purchase an SSEP licence. Schools and their business communities fund Smarter Futures independently per faculty. That's $10,000 for 1 year and $5,000 each for years 2 and 3. Thank you. Thank you to those businesses who have been part of the journey to date, all our SSEP employers, there's about 250 of them, and all schools who have been involved, especially those still going strong to create rich experiences for our young people. And big thanks again to our very first Smarter Futures sector partners, Wintec, Glenys and John Gallagher Foundation, the University of Waikato, thank you for hosting us today, Fulton Hogan, Foster's Group, Kalaizuzu and Sealed Air. Thank you to the sector leaders who have shared with us today, Catherine Lai from AMA, Leonard Gardner from Foster's, Kerry Green from Well Networks, Kerry Watkins from Fulton Hogan, Donovan Clark from Anglesey Clinic, Jeremy Mail from Creative Waikato and Nicola Greenwell from Hamilton and Waikato Tourism. I acknowledge our Smart Waikato Board, Chair Deb McCauley, Grace Reid, Damien Cecily, Amy Hacker, TJ Asiata, Dr Shelley Wilson and our patron Roger Evans. Thank you. Thanks as well to Rosie Spragg who pulled together our local stats. Thank you to the government departments who helped us get SSEP off the ground in the early days, MB, MPI, the Ministry of Education and others. Let's keep talking. A special thank you to our schools, particularly the dozens of school representatives here today. You play such a pivotal role in preparing our children and our grandchildren for smarter futures. And that's no mean feat. We all take our hats off to you. Thanks as well to Marcus Freak from the Ministry of Education and our fantastic speaker, Dr David Wilson, for your valuable insights today. A special shout out to our Master of Ceremonies, the dynamic and talented Maddie Walker. With young people like Maddie in your waka, you know the future is in excellent hands. Last, by no means least, I would like to acknowledge our CE, Mary Jensen. Mary has led Smart Waikato since its inception in 2009. Under her leadership, the Trust has made measurable, large-scale impact for our young people and our region. And we're still going strong. It's wonderful to see such a good turnout of leaders here today, all passionate about creating smarter futures for our young people, our industry and our Waikato. I encourage each of you to do what you can to dig as deep as you can to join us in the ultimate collaboration. If we all work together, Smarter Futures Waikato will be our reality. Thank you.
Right, and that brings us to the almost end. As you may be aware, I don't know if you've heard, we have some forms for you. They're in your packs. They say response sheet on the top. They are slightly different depending on who you are and where you're from, so no cheating from your neighbour. Please complete them before you exit. The ushers at both doors will be collecting them. If I can just get you to hold fire on pulling them out for one moment, because we're not quite done, to formally and officially close our event for today, I would like to invite back, please, Julian Williams.
Kia ora tātou. Yeah, I'm happy if you make some noise and have a look at your papers. But just want to acknowledge Chair Deb McCauley, Mary Jensen, the CEO, Maddie, Sally, Anna, the whole team, for bringing this all together. Can we give them all a round of applause, please? Just going off ad lib a little bit here, Mary. Just wanted to say, as a previous board member of Smart Waikato, and as a kid that grew up in Ngaruawahia in the best era in the 80s, you didn't have really much options on which high school you were going to. I grew up in Ngaruawahia, which means I was going to Ngaruawahia High School. But thankfully I was introduced to teachers such as Richard Crawford at the back there, who instilled us to be better, and also his wife, who instilled fear to be better. Don't tell her that, please, Virginia Crawford. And then we had, I got a Te Rapa Rotary Scholarship, and it was $1,000, and that was allowed me to catch the bus and get up to university here in the Waikato. And then as I joined, there were no pathways, well, actually there were no jobs known as iwi consultants or iwi Māori environmental advisors. You were going to become a geographer or a planner. So when I came on to Smart Waikato with the team, I was really excited to be that our kids would be exposed to well over 4,000 types of occupations compared to the 400 we knew of. Probably knew about 8 of them. And so it's really neat, and you're quite a great example that it does take a village to raise a child. So thank you for your many contributions. I encourage you to continue supporting Smart Waikato. On that note, we'll close up. Now your minds are full. Please don't go home straight away, Haere ki waho, ki te whakakito puku. Go outside there and fill your stomachs, please, before you head home. Me kara ki a tātou. E pāte matua nui ki te rangi. Kia tau tō manaakitanga, ki runga ki tēnā kei tēnā o tātou. Kia piki te ora, kia piki te māramatanga. Kia hoki a te pai, kia hoki mai pai. Tūturu o whiti whakamaua kia tīnā. Haumi e hui e, tāi ki e, kia ora.
Thank you, everyone. That's us. As Julian said, there is lunch waiting for you out in the foyer. I'll be signing autographs, but I'll only do that for people who fill in their response forms. So please take a moment to do that, and we'll see you outside. Thank you.